Hey everyone, we've all been there, right? You've had jobs where you felt on top of the world, and jobs where you were just counting down the seconds to 5 o'clock. And so much of that difference boils down to just one thing: your boss. Today, we're going to crack the code on what makes a leader truly great, and we're using a really fascinating 6-year study from the IT industry to do it. Okay, let's get into it.
It's the million-dollar question, isn't it? It's what defines careers, it shapes entire companies, and at the end of the day, it's what determines success. Is it about being popular? Is it about hitting targets no matter what? Or is it something else, something a little deeper? Well, the research points to one single critical outcome.
You guessed it, employee engagement. We're talking about that emotional spark, that commitment an employee feels toward their company and its mission. And in these high-stakes, super fast-paced fields like IT, engaged employees aren't just a nice-to-have. No, they are the absolute engine of the entire operation. So the real question is, how do leaders fire up that engine?
So here's our game plan for today. We'll start with why your boss matters so much. Then we'll open up the leadership style playbook to see the different approaches. After that, we'll look at how these styles held up under a massive 6-year stress test. We'll check the final engagement scorecard to see the clear winners and losers, and then we'll wrap it all up with a guide on how to lead right now. Okay, so to really get a handle on this, we need a framework. A really useful one is called the Full-Range Leadership Model. It basically says the best leaders have a whole spectrum of behaviors they can use, from totally hands-off to super involved. Let's break down the main styles. Think of them as different tools in a leader's toolkit. First up, we've got transformational leadership. These are the visionaries, the big picture people. They don't just hand out tasks, they build a shared sense of purpose. They push their teams to think outside the box, and they're really focused on helping every single person grow. They're always building for what's next.
And then we have transactional leadership. This style is all about structure, clarity, and a straightforward exchange. You hit your targets, you get the reward. You miss them, and there's a course correction. It's really focused on making sure today's plan gets done efficiently and reliably.
Now this next one, servant leadership. I love this one. It completely flips the old school pyramid upside down. Here, the leader's number one job is to serve their team, clear roadblocks, look out for their well-being, and empower them to do their best work. The philosophy is simple. When your team feels supported, your team will be effective.
And finally, there's laissez-faire leadership. This is the classic hands-off approach. The leader steps back, delegates pretty much everything, and offers very little direct supervision. Now, in theory, that could create autonomy, but as we're about to see, it usually comes with some pretty big risks.
Okay, this analogy just perfectly sums up the difference between the two most common styles. A transactional leader, their whole world is about keeping the trains running on time. Efficient, predictable, reliable, like clockwork. But the transformational leader, they're the one looking at the whole map and saying, you know what, we need to build a brand new railway to a much better destination. You need both, but they accomplish totally different things.
All right, so that's the theory. But how does the stuff actually work when the rubber meets the road? Well, this study followed IT professionals for 6 straight years, tracking leadership styles and engagement through one of the most chaotic, disruptive periods any of us have ever lived through. The timing of this study is just perfect. It gives us a solid baseline of what normal looked like before 2020. Then, bam, it captures the ultimate stress test, the pandemic, when everything changed overnight. And then it shows us how things started to settle into this new, post-pandemic hybrid world. Okay, now this is where it gets really juicy. Look how these different styles handled the pressure. Check out servant leadership. High, high, and high again. Rock solid. It proves that trust and caring for your people is incredibly resilient. Transformational leadership took a bit of a hit during the pandemic. It's just tough to be a visionary over Zoom, but look how it bounced right back. But transactional? Oof. That constant focus on performance metrics during a global crisis, it led straight to burnout. And laissez-faire? It was an absolute disaster. When people needed leadership the most, being hands-off just created chaos and disengagement. And the stats put some really hard numbers behind this. This chart shows the direct impact each style had on engagement. You can see transformational and servant leadership have a big positive effect. But look at laissez-faire. It's got a negative score. That means it didn't just fail to help, it actively drove down engagement. The data couldn't be clearer. So after this whole 6-year gauntlet, what's the final scorecard look like? Let's just call it what it is and name the high-performing approaches and the ones that really dropped the ball.
Standing in the winner's circle, we have two clear champions. Transformational leadership is absolutely essential for guiding teams through big changes. And servant leadership? Well, it's the bedrock of stability. It keeps engagement high by putting people first and building unbreakable trust. These two are the dynamic duo of long-term success.
Now for the underperformers. Transactional leadership isn't a total failure. It has its place for getting specific tasks done. But if it's the only tool you use, you're on a fast track to burning out your team. And laissez-faire? Yeah, there's no silver lining here. It's just a recipe for confusion, anxiety, and disengagement.
So what's the big takeaway from all of this? How do we actually use these lessons in the real world? Let's boil all this research down into a simple, practical guide you can start using today.
This quote right here absolutely nails it. Being a great leader isn't about picking a side and saying, I'm a transformational leader. No, it's about being a complete leader who has a whole toolkit and knows exactly which tool to pull out for the right situation. It's not a personality type, it's a portfolio of skills.
So here's how you build that mix. Step 1, that's your transformational side. Inspire that big vision, give your team a why. Steps 2 and 3 blend the best of transformational and servant leadership. Really invest in your people and create a space where it's safe to try new things. And finally, step 4 brings in that crucial transactional piece. You have to ensure accountability with clear goals and follow through.
And that's really the secret sauce. The most effective leaders are adaptable. They're like chameleons. They can inspire a huge change, they can support their people through a tough time, and they can demand accountability, sometimes all in the same conversation. They have the full range and the wisdom to know when to use each skill.
Which brings us to one final big question. As AI gets better and better and starts to handle a lot of the routine, transactional parts of work, what's left for us humans to do as leaders? Well, maybe those uniquely human skills, inspiration, empathy, vision, and developing others are about to become more valuable than ever before. That's definitely something every leader is going to have to think about.
You did everything right to build a successful life, but what if that suit no longer fits?
Yeah, you did everything you were supposed to. The degree, the job, all those endless late nights.
But deep down, you're running on fumes. And you're starting to ask, is this really it?
If that hits home, you need to know this. You are not alone. Not even close. To get ahead, you learn to wear the mask, the one that says, I've got this.
But the world kept rewarding the performance, and you started losing the person underneath.
This isn't just being tired. It's an exhaustion that lets you keep going while silently falling apart.
It's called high-functioning burnout. You look perfectly fine on the outside, but you're hollowed out.
Do any of these sound familiar? This is real, and I promise you, it is not your fault. Let's be really clear. You are not the problem. The system you have to perform in is. But there is a path back, and this book was written for this very moment.
This isn't another productivity guide. It's about healing the why behind all that hustle. Inside, you'll learn how to take off the mask and finally reconnect with your actual self.
You'll learn how to trade that constant draining grind for a life that actually flows.
It's time to find a way to succeed that doesn't require you to completely disappear.
Because the person you are today has outgrown the role you were forced to play.
This is your permission slip. It's time to stop pretending and finally start healing. Your next chapter starts right here. It's time to find your way back.